Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a wonderful day today. So we're going to be doing a foundation review. I'm really excited because this is going to be my first time trying a Charlotte Tilbury foundation. This is the new Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation. So we're going to be checking out two of the shades, 11 Cool and 13W. So before we get into this, if you're here for the first time, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. On this channel, we do makeup videos that cater to the 40 and over crowd, but makeup lovers of all ages are welcome. So make sure you subscribe while you're here because I would love to have you join the channel and I would really appreciate your support. Okay, y'all, let's jump right into it. Okay, so per the usual, I'm going to give y'all some information about this foundation and then we're going to do some swatches. We'll try it on, we'll see what we think about it initially, and then we'll wear it for a few hours and then I'll give y'all my final thoughts. So this is now available at Sephora or on Charlotte Tilbury's website. It retails for $44 and it comes in 30 shades. I'm not sure how many shades come in the original Charlotte Tilbury foundation, but I think it's more than 30, but this one is available in 30 shades. And the claims for this is it's a 16-hour natural glow foundation with buildable medium coverage, and it's supposed to hydrate, smooth, blur your pores, and brighten your skin, and it has a natural finish with medium coverage. Some of the main ingredients in here are hyaluronic acid, rose complex, and something called Bix Active, which I'm not familiar with, but that reduces shine and blurs the look of pores. So we're going to start off with some swatches. So like I said, I've never tried the original Charlotte Tilbury foundation, but I think my shade in that one would be 12C. So if you think that you and I have a pretty similar complexion and you can use me as a shade reference, I do keep all of my best matching foundation shades in my description box so you can refer to that, but I do have a cool pink undertone, so I always look for that first. I often can't find that in my complexion range, so if I can't find cool pink, then I go for warm golden or warm bronze, and I stay away from yellow and olive undertones. So with that being said, they don't have a 12C in this one, so I got 11 cool and 13 warm. I have a feeling that I could probably get away with either of these independently, but I might get a better match if I mix the two together, so that's why I decided to pick up two. So I'm gonna start off with a couple of cheek swatches. I'm just gonna shake these up a little bit. I don't hear anything moving, but I always like to shake up new foundations just because they've been like sitting for who knows how long. So I'm gonna start off with the shade 11 Cool. Oh, let me show y'all the packaging for those of y'all who are interested in that. It's really pretty. It's a nice tube packaging with a pump on it, so I do really like the packaging. So again, this one is the shade 11C. So that's 11C, and as expected, I think this one is just going to be just a little too light on its own, but perhaps I can get away with it, but it just looks a little too light. And this isn't supposed to be like one of those sheer tint or skin tint type of products that gives you a sheer coverage and kind of like blends into your or adjusts to your skin tone. It's going to have a medium coverage, so that looks a little bit light. And this one is the shade 13W. So that's 13W. W, did they say that 13W was golden? Because I feel like that's why I picked it. This is looking just a little like yellowy, but let me just check something real quick. Yeah, so 13 Warm is deep with warm bronze undertones. Let me know what y'all think, but to me it's looking a bit yellowish and not necessarily bronzy. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if either one of these are gonna work, but let me, I'm just gonna mix them up and see what they look like when I mix them. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. I think I am gonna mix it because to me this looks better mixed than both of them looked on their own, but I'm a little surprised because the 13 Warm one, it just looks a tad more yellow than I was expecting. So I'm just gonna leave this on here and I'm just gonna add a little bit more of each of the shades. And I'm going to be blending this out with my Merit Beauty foundation brush. I'm sorry, I forgot to zoom y'all in a little bit, but as I'm blending it out, it actually doesn't look bad. It's not looking as yellowy as it did like when I just had the swatch. So I think this is looking okay so far. Yeah, I actually think that looks okay. So before I go on to the other side, this is the side with the foundation and this is the side without. So far, first impression wise, I like the way that it's laying on my skin. I was expecting a little bit more coverage. So it does claim to give medium coverage and it definitely covered some stuff up. But to me, this is looking like, I would say like a light to medium coverage, maybe like a light medium coverage, if that makes sense. But it's just, I was expecting a little bit more coverage than what I got for the amount of product that I put on. But so far, I think it looks really nice. So let me go on to the other side and then we'll check and see if this is a buildable formula. So I'm gonna try to put the same amount on this side, and then I'll go back to the other side and add more and we'll see if it builds up at all. I'm also noticing just like a very slight tug when I'm blending this out with my brush. Like I kind of wish that I had used a sponge with this because it just feels like it's just like slightly thick, and maybe like a damp sponge would kind of like loosen it up a little bit. But so far so good. Another thing that I like about this so far is I'm not smelling anything. So one of the reasons I never got the original Charlotte Tilbury foundation is because it has fragrance in it, and I try to stay away with foundations with fragrance because sometimes I get really sensitive to that. But I do have pretty active allergies, so sometimes I can't smell as well as other people, but I can't smell anything with this one, which I like because I was a little concerned about the fragrance, but I don't smell anything at all. Okay, so this is what, like, we'll say like one coat of the foundation looks like all over my face. So let me know what y'all think. I really like it so far. I feel like as this side is settling in, it's looking really, really nice. Like, I hope y'all can tell the difference. This side just seems to have like dried down and set a little bit more than this side, and to me this side looks really, really nice. Right on the sides of my nose where I tend to have pores, and a lot of us have pores right here, it looks really nice and smooth. It looks really good, like right up in here. It's laying like very nicely so far. Okay, I'm gonna go in with a little bit more on this side and let's see if we get any more coverage. So I'm trying to do just like a half pump of each of the shades because I don't want to put on too much of the product. And I always like to do my second layer like just right on the cheek area just to help me cover up my blemishes. Okay, so I think that that built up really nicely. It definitely gives more coverage. So we'll say on this side, this is like a pump and a half to 2 pumps of the product over here, whereas over here we have about 1 pump, and it definitely covered up more on this side. So it is a nice buildable formula. I love when foundations build up really nicely. So far this one does a really good job with that. I love the way this is laying on my face. Like I can't stop looking at that. It's just laying like very, very nicely. Okay, I'm gonna go in over here with a little bit more. The only thing is I do wish that they had this particular foundation in the shade 12 Cool, because I'm pretty sure that's the shade that I would need. That's the only thing. Maybe next time I try this, maybe I'll try one of those shades on their own and see if I can get away with it. But this looks like a pretty good match with those 2 shades mixed in together. So this is, we're gonna say like 1.5 to 2 pumps all over the face. So let me know what your first impression is. I really like this so far. I cannot stop looking at how just nicely it's laying on my face. I really like it. I'm wondering if, because I don't notice any fragrance in here, I'm wondering if I should go ahead and try the original Charlotte Tilbury foundation and get the shade 12C. So number one, I can compare that to this one, and then maybe I'll have an option in these complexion products without having to mix two shades together. But I really like this so far. So let me know what y'all think. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my face, and then we will start our wear test. So I'm gonna pretty much do like the same routine that I always do, but I know that a lot of y'all like to see me go through my whole routine. So my eye makeup is already done. So I'm gonna go in with my Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer, and I use this as kind of like a color corrector under the eye. And my eyeshadow is that Charlotte Tilbury Jewel Pot. It's called Walk of No Shame. It's a mix of that and the Charlotte Tilbury, the bronzer that I'm going to use a little bit later on. So on top of my Kevyn Aucoin concealer, I'm going to use my Anastasia concealer in the shade 15. So this one I use kind of like as a brightener on top of that color corrector. And I'm also going to use that in the center of my face to brighten up that area as well. Okay, I'm going to set my under eye with my Kosas Cloud Set Powder. This one is the shade Pillowy. And then I'm going to set the rest of my face with this mini Charlotte Tilbury powder. This one is in the shade Tan. It's called mini, but it should be called tiny because this thing is so small. But anyway, this one is the shade Tan. So I'm going to set the foundation with this. And honestly, speaking of setting this, for those of you who have a drier skin type, I have oily skin, but if you have like a drier skin type, I feel like you might be able to get away with like not even setting this, because the way that it sets down on its own is like really pretty. It has like a really nice natural, it doesn't have like any type of like mattifying finish to it, but it just sits on the skin really nicely. Because I always feel like when you go in and you set a liquid foundation, it just makes it look just a little bit more polished with that layer of powder on top of it. But it's like this foundation kind of has that polished look on its own. Okay, for blush, I'm going to use my Pat McGrath blush. This one is the shade Paradise Venus. And I'm using my Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. So like I said earlier, I already have a little bit of this on my eyes, but I'm also going to use this to bronze up the rest of my face. And then also just putting a little bit of this on the nose. I'm going to go in with my Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. I just pulled this. This is the first one that I pulled out of my drawer. I'm just going to use a little bit of this to give myself an inner corner highlight. Okay, I just spent like 10 minutes trying to decide what lipstick I want to use, but I'm going to go in with Fashion Fair. This one is in the shade Ganache. It's like a chocolate brown shade. Okay, and here is our finished look for today. So let me give you guys one more look at the foundation before we start our wear test. So let me know what your first impression is in the comments. I really like it. I just cannot get over how well this just lays so nicely on the skin. So far so good. Let's hope that we have a good wear test today. So let's get started with that. It is a little before 12 noon in the morning, so hopefully I can make it to about 8 hours. So I'll see y'all back here a little bit later on. Okay, it's 6:35 in the evening, so that puts us at about a 6.5 hour wear test for today. So like I said earlier, I was going for about 8 hours, but I always stop my wear test when I feel like I've gotten to the point where it's time for me to refresh my makeup. So I think I'm to that point. So this is what we're looking like after about 6.5 hours. So let me know what you think. So even though I think that I'm to the point where I want to get rid of a little bit of this excess oil, I do still think my makeup looks good. It's just that I really want to remove this oil, particularly from the center of my face on my nose. But despite that, I think that the makeup did hold pretty well for a 6.5 hour wear test. So let me know what y'all think. So the last thing we're going to do is I am going to blot the excess oil and I'm going to repowder. And then I think I am going to stick with the Charlotte Tilbury powder to repowder my face, but I think I'm going to apply it with a more dense brush just to see what that looks like, because I do kind of wish I had used a more dense brush earlier before the wear test. So I'm just taking a piece of tissue here and I'm just going to blot off in my T-zone area in particular. I don't believe I said at the beginning of the video that I don't wear foundation primer, and I know that most of you guys know that, but for those of you who might be watching one of my foundation reviews for the first time, I don't wear foundation primer, just so that you'll know, because I know some people wear it, some people don't, but I do not. Okay, so this is what we're looking like after we blot off. So I always like to take note if like too much makeup is pulling off when I blot off the excess oil, and does it still look pretty much intact? And it does, so I think that that looks fine. So I'm gonna go back into my tiny Charlotte Tilbury powder, and this time I'm gonna go in with a more dense brush. And I still don't want to put like too much powder on my face, but I do kind of wish I had used this when I set my face earlier. I do think that would have made the foundation wear a little bit longer, maybe, if I had like just pressed the powder into my face a little bit better. But I did set earlier like the way that I normally do, like that big fluffy brush. This is the one that I normally use to set my foundation, so that's why I used it today. So okay, so this is what we're looking like after repowdering, and I do think it looks nice. Now I will say, because I went in with a more dense brush and I put like a little bit more powder on, I am getting more of like a matte finish. So I actually do prefer the way it looked, the way when I set it with this brush, because it didn't give me as much powder over the foundation. But this looks fine too, like it's not overly matte. I think it still looks nice, but I do prefer it with just a little bit less powder. But if you're oily like me, then you probably need to just really like press your powder into your face, or if you wear primer, because like I said, I usually don't. If you wear primer, that might help too, if you're wearing maybe like one of those like tacky types of primers. So my final thoughts on this new Charlotte Tilbury foundation, I really would recommend that you try it out, because I do really love the way that it wore on me today. I think if I had a better shade match, if there was one that I could wear without having to mix two of the shades together, I probably would put this in my like everyday foundation rotation stash. But I think the only reason I'm not ready to do that is simply because I have to mix two shades together, which I do have other foundations where I have to mix, but then again, I have a bunch of foundations where I don't. So I feel like if I had a better shade match, I would like it a lot more. But despite that, I do still really like it. Now I have had other foundations that have worn a lot better than this one, ones that have worn a lot longer on me before I got to the point where I had to blot off excess oil. But I do think for the amount of oil that I produced after 6.5 hours with this on, it wasn't bad at all. Like, I did look shiny, but I didn't look like overly oily. So I think a 6.5 hour wear for, you know, that amount of shine that I had, I don't think that that was bad. So I would say in general it wore pretty well on my oily skin. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that you at least give this one a try. So let me know in the comments if you've already picked this up, or if you're interested in picking it up. Also let me know if you've already tried the original Charlotte Tilbury foundation. Let me know if you think I should try that one, because I am interested in doing a side-by-side comparison of that one to this one. And like I said, I think I'll have a better shade match in that original Charlotte Tilbury foundation. So I really hope that y'all enjoyed the video today. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel before you head out, and I will see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.